Hey y'all, it is April the 27th, 2020, and we're live. We're live. All right. We did it. Uh, a lot later. All right. We're even later than typical and stuff on tonight. Real briefly, I want to explain. That's because I pretty much just barely woke up, you know? And because of this, I don't really have much planned for this broadcast. I actually was planning on something, brainstorming it maybe earlier for a couple days and stuff. And of course, it's gonna come to fruition, I guess you would say, this broadcast I had in mind, but not tonight, all right? Not tonight. I was doing a little bit of research earlier today, and then I wound up taking a nap, as I typically do on Mondays. Took an extra lazy nap, I guess you will, and it went on for longer than I thought. All right, but the thing is, I also feel wonderful right now. Getting in that little bit of extra sleep. I gotta say, as far as this weekend, I got some things done. I got all sort of things done, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that I didn't get done. Right? It's all over my apartment. It's looking at me right now. These things. Sometimes you just gotta take it easy. I guess you will, and then just kind of. Oh, I don't know what you do. Stop moving, looking all around you, staring at the walls and things like that. Uh, I don't know. Sometimes I find that fun. All right. So it's Monday night, and it's a live stream. Well, I thought I would get on. I thought I would get on the internet, and the reason for that is, well, the main reason for it is because that's what I typically do, right? And with the time that I have allotted to me right now, it's really no time to do anything else. I don't think. So I thought I would get on, touch base with some of y'all. All right, I see there's a straggler up in the building, and while I barely wake up, I figured I'd get something of a wherewithal. And obviously, I can't promise to you that anything is worth mentioning, all right? Because I just woke up and I have no idea. But I feel like that something is gonna reach down and touch us tonight. All right, I got a weird gut feeling about it. I got a weird gut feeling, so we're gonna go rooting around a little bit and see what it is that touches us. All right, but not in a disgusting manner. In the manners that we've been touched recently. Hopefully, that's not going to be the case. I'm feeling pretty positive about it, inexplicably positive about it, actually. And it brings to mind something that I just saw right before the broadcast. Right, pretty much going to be the theme for tonight. Something of a philosophical issue or debate, if you will. I want to have it. All right. So shout out to the person up in the building. I'm gonna check out in the comments in a second if you have something to interject. But let's get us on a path. I guess let's take it this direction because it's actually pretty dang deep now. Okay. I have a lot of dear contributors who pop in from time to time, and I don't know what they do. All right, they do what they do, and it rubs off on me, or it'll inspire me, and it'll cause me to think. Now, sometimes people give me very long comments, and I have to admit that anybody's been around YouTube, they'll see these long comments, and they'll tend to ignore the big long comments. And typically, I do. I ignore the crap out of the long-winded comments, except from a few people in particular. One would be Angela Tate. I actually made a video about some of her comments the other day, and I didn't upload it. It's been a very strange. This is what I noticed about myself. is that a basic crippledness will come over me and stuff, and I'll just stare off into the abyss or into like just basically in the middle distance, right? Just eyes glaze over. Perhaps I'll just go still like a gargoyle for hours. I'm not sure what the heck I do, right? But time passes by, and I just focus on the fact. I don't even worry about the fact that I'm not moving necessarily. Or maybe I am moving. Maybe I black out. I'm not sure. I don't focus on it too much, but time goes by, and I take in something. So on the outside, externally, it looks very unproductive, and but the thing is, I savor it. Right? These times, it's in which I guess time slows down. Even it seems. Right, and it becomes very crystallized around me and stuff. It's a time of um, inward meditation, I guess, if you will. Anyways, I don't know who's up in the building, but they probably know about Angela Tate, right? She's got very deep comments and stuff. It's going to be, I know we got off to a very slow start on this broadcast. Like I said, I'm still waking up, and my mind takes a little bit of time to even start to speed up. So, anyways, we're talking about Angela Tate. I got a cup of coffee right here, so it's going to get all better in a second. We got Angela Tate right here. And I want to discuss it because it's basically the theme for tonight. It's a takeaway for tonight. It's kind of a throwaway stream, anyways. It's not going to be very long because I got on here very late. That's my fault. I'm sorry about that. You know, people were probably like very just upset or perhaps even worried and disturbed by the fact that I said I was coming on and I got on here real late. And for that, I apologize. But we're going to dive right into it at this point. Angela Tate says, and we've been having a running debate. We've been having different debates. And hopefully you'll get the context of basically what we've been talking about over the past few days. All right. Hopefully you'll get the context just by this very long-winded comment. Look at it. All right. It's pretty good. I put a heart on it. All right. So look, the thing is, according to Angela Tate, whatever the monsters are putting out there, and you're going to have to catch up because she's a wild talker if you're not familiar, says, whatever the monsters are putting out there, including parentheses, what the Trump creature is spouting, is exactly. Oh, it's talking right by Brenda. Brenda's up in the building. Feel free, to give me some insights about it because I'm still collecting. And of course, nobody's going to talk trash about Angela Tate on this here channel because I don't appreciate it. But we are objectively going to look at this comment real quick right here. So, because there's a certain kind of sentiment to it, and I can't discount the sentiment, and I won't. But I also don't exactly understand it. Now, parentheses, including the Trump creature spouting. And of course, she's talking about Donald Trump. And she says he's a creature and he's spouting off stuff, and it's exactly what they want out there at that particular time. They relish the confusion. It's all part of the magic spell. All right? I'll have you know that I'm not being sarcastic in any of this when I'm reading it out. Honestly, I do think it's very serious. All right? And it's actually very legitimate. So valid. I find it very valid, especially consider the times that we're experiencing right now. Since I really wouldn't know where to start with all this CV BS. And I think we all know what that means. And all this freaking twists and turns they've got going on, deliberately, of course, in parentheses. But what I do know is that we need to purposefully and very clearly rebuke all of the evil S, and we got to do it constantly. I agree with all this. I'm in total agreement with all this, but it does go a little bit further. She says right at the beginning of the effed up conspiracy, I was saying to friends and family that they need to stay away from this clapping ritual. And at first I was like, what the heck, this clapping ritual? All right. And it is kind of ritualistic, the idea of clapping, but it took me aback. The thing is, I forget sometimes, but apparently, and I heard this a while back, they're having this thing where everybody starts clapping at a certain point in the day, like out of their window at their apartment or their work, they just start clapping. But I don't know if this can be heard throughout the streets of Great Britain and stuff, like, because apparently that is where it's happening. And it's for like emergency responders, if I'm not mistaken, or at least that's why they say everybody come out the door and start clapping. All right, that's weird. All right, but it's all kind of like, okay, that is their clapping ritual and stuff, and you could say it's weird, and I certainly just did say it's kind of weird, but at the same time, who's I guess you couldn't really judge necessarily. For example, a lot of us believe, myself included, that if you were to pray at the same time, and for like a collective reason, like if people were to pray, even if they weren't together, but they were all praying at the same time, there's something to be said about that. It's kind of a magic to that. And that's what's being kind of inferred, that this is a magic ritual, if you will. And I don't know if it's being said, but I would infer that it's a satanic magic ritual. And so to me, that's it's very significant. A lot of people would just find it annoying, but I find it real significant. And so it's a clapping ritual slash spell that they've managed to persuade the vast majority of the sheep out there to routinely engage in at a set time and on a certain day. So that I recognized immediately what the S was when it first started. It's about moving in a collective energy. See, like, this is exactly the same page I'm on. It's about an energy. There's something to it. It's a force to it. All right. And to me, very, very real. And I want to focus on that word, real. To me, it's very real. But they focus the collective energy in a direction where the demons so desire it to go. All right. Now I feel I need to interject here. I know this S works. Well, okay. I mean, yeah, I feel like this S works too, as well. And of course, some people wouldn't go that far. I think most people who come through this channel, they do go that far. And we are talking about demons, straight up and down. Can we see the demons? Well, typically I don't think that we see the demons, right? Not like floating around in the air, whatever they would do. I think the closest that we see demons, if I'm not mistaken, I gotta say, I think it's very important. The only time we ever really see demons is in the face of human beings. All right, perhaps people see demons in the face of animals. I don't know that I ever have. All right, there might be some people see demons in the trees and stuff, but I've never heard of that. When you really think about it, when do you ever see demons except in the face of human beings? And it seems wild, but their face contorts and it looks all crazy, and they get all this weird smile on their face, and it's just like, or they get like, I mean, their face changes and contorts in a way that it just doesn't typically do. Anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but to me, it's very real when I see it in certain people's faces. I don't think I had to name names, right? Uh, so, anyways, she said, I know this S works. Angela says, trust me, Gerard, it does. It works. And the thing is, I do trust you, Angela, 100%. So the longer they've got the sheep engaged in this witch effery, the more power and abilities are going to manifest in the monster's favor. Goes without saying. Gosh, man, I 1,000% agree with everything that's been said up till now. I really do. On a personal level, I do. Okay? So it goes without saying. The Rainbow BS Sigil, which I don't know if that's a misspelling or if that's what that is. I don't know what that is. The Rainbow BS Sigil they've got going on is also a big part of it. And I don't know what she's talking about, but she says this S began right before Passover, and I do remember that, when that passed over, all right, very recently. So it started right before Passover with people displaying them on their windows and their doors. And it's like there's wild stuff going on around here, but like I don't know what the heck she's talking about. It sounds wild. And she says what it's doing is marking them for whatever. For whatever. It's marking them up for the upcoming evil and they've got planned in the coming weeks, months, and years. And yeah, I would agree as far as the weeks, months, and the years. Of course, that's a very safe bet as far as saying weeks, months, and years because, it's basically saying in the future they got some bad stuff planned. I would totally agree. All right, but I guess this is where um, we kind of break off, if you will. We kind of go a little bit in separate directions. And this is what I want to discuss because perhaps it might make a difference, or perhaps somebody was out there pondering the same types of things. Angela says, so in response, I went and I put up signs in all my windows, doors, and garage to rebuke Satan and his spawn. Zechariah 3:2, which is basically F Satan's rainbow. And I was like, dang, dude, I'm going to have to look that up. I haven't looked that up yet. Basically F Satan's rainbow. I wonder if it said exactly that. But with all my extended family following suit, and that's pretty, I'm glad to hear that because, as far as families go, I think they're powerful if they work in the same direction. So they trust you. I trust you as well. But Angela says, anyhow, it's all biblical, every bit of it. It's like, I totally agree with all this. See, this is where you're going to lose me, but I totally agree with everything up to this point. So we were placed here for this exact moment. I agree, in time. You just need to lose the half hoax, half real mindset. And there you go. That's where the controversy's at. A little bit of controversy just because I've done enough research to know in my life that people die. If that's what we're discussing here. If what we're discussing is whether or not people die or like people get straight up murdered or disappeared and sometimes forgotten, I would have to say that that actually does happen. And I've known that it's happened since well before this CV nonsense or whatever. Since I can remembering things. All right. And it does happen to anybody, right? And it can happen to anybody. And that's why it's especially annoying to hear stuff like, oh, I never thought it could happen to me. It's like, where do you live at? Right? I live in a place where everything can happen to you. But at the same time, it's not really productive to be dwelling on the fact that everything can happen to you. Even though anything can happen to you. It's kind of a interesting balance, that a lot of us teeter on. But anyways, the half hoax, half real mindset. All right, so we're gonna kind of veer off at this point. So all the S is fake, Gerard. And I know a lot of people out there are starting to feel the same way because so much is fake, and hoaxed, and tomfooled all across your face that it starts to seem like everything is fake, right? And so I wanna kind of like try to understand better what this even means. All the S is fake, Gerard. And when you understand that, the rest will all simply fall into place, and I hope it does. Now, I think I've seen things falling into place. If I had to make a statement on it, I would say yes. I would say things are for sure falling into place. For sure. I would agree with that part, and I agree with most of it. But by the way, the abandoned dogs is getting to me because I've helped to look after abandoned dogs and cats for a long while. And since this evil S has been dished out, the kennels where they were being housed has been forced to shut down, and this has broken my heart. F these pieces of S, F them all. And it's like, wow, that's what they call a proper dismount, all right? That was a nice sign away right there. And and I appreciate it. Honestly, I don't know if it'll get me kicked off of YouTube or whatever, if that might be hate speech, but I thought it was all right. And of course, you cleaned up the language pretty dang well as far as, I mean, I guess people could figure out what you're saying, but if they can figure it out, well, then I guess they're old enough to hear that kind of language. Talking about evil, a lot of people, they would discount this whole entire conversation that we're having, but I thought it was very deep. And I go a little bit of a different direction, and I want to explain it just because I want you to know where exactly I'm coming from. Like all the S is fake stuff, like everything is fake and hoax, and everything is fake and theatrics in front of us in order to manipulate us. That just doesn't calculate for me, right? I can't figure. There's some people out there who might feel the same way, and I just can't understand. For example, just to start off with, if I were to take the opinion, I think, because I've kind of like dwelled upon that sort of idea. I'm open-minded, and so I thought about it before. The thought has passed through my head. What if everything is fake? And honestly, if everything was fake, then I personally would lay down on the ground and not even do anything, pretty much ever again. And I know a lot of people would be like, "Oh man, it doesn't have to be like that, Gerard. You could pick yourself up by your bootstraps." And I'm like, dude, if everything is fake, why would I bother? What would be the point of this? All right, I would have no patience for it at all. I'm pretty sure, if I thought that way. Or maybe, see, the thing is, maybe I need a little bit more convincing. And perhaps even if I were to adopt the mantra of everything is fake and everywhere I go, everything is fake around me, or I'm not sure what exactly. It seems like everything is fake around. That would be the mantra, not only on TV and on the internet, but like, of course, that spells out in the 3D world, which in and of itself is a big fake show. I think that I'm getting. I hope that I'm not over exaggerating it because I feel like this is the sentiment that's being put across. And I saw there was something up in the comments section, so perhaps it'll lend some insight. Rabbi Brenda said I watched another channel from England, and she went around her neighborhood and showed tons of rainbows everywhere. And that, yeah, okay, uh, and that's what I figured and stuff was happening. I think England is probably a pretty small place too, and so it wouldn't take. I mean, there's a lot of people, I suppose, in England. I wonder how many rainbows that means. And I don't for a second doubt that. And I don't discount the epic weirdness of it, the absolute creepiness of it, the Twilight Zone tomfoolery of it. Right? I had a taste of it. Gotta keep an eye on the time. I had a taste of it earlier today, and it's an ongoing saga. I made a video about a gardening video. I actually had 3 gardening videos I need to upload, and I'm very lazy about it. I go cripple sometimes, and I just don't do anything. And it makes me wonder. You might even wonder, why do I shoot the videos if I don't upload them? I couldn't even tell you. But all right, so I went to Target earlier because I needed some water, some of that distilled water in them gallon containers. I picked up a couple, and just like the days before, it's been a couple days since I've been in the store, but just like on the days before, and even more so today, even more than it's ever been, people were wearing masks. Everybody. Not only in the store, but walking through the parking lot um, with the mask on. You're not even in the store yet. I don't know if you think police are going to pop up out of the bushes and slap you with a fine and totally like handcuff you and take you for ransom and stuff till you give them $1,000. That's not going to happen. And yet it's still 99% of people wearing their masks. To the point is, I don't even think I saw one person. Oh man, okay, for example, when I went to Target, I walked there because it's not a far walk and stuff. Go to Target, And everybody, when I get into Target, everybody does. 100% of people, except for I saw an older lady and she was on a bench. You know how they sometimes put benches in front of grocery stores? And she was smoking a cigarette. She didn't have a mask on, of course, because that's be stupid. Why would you'd have to put it on, take it off, and stuff? So she didn't have it on. And when I walked in the door, there's actually a skateboarder, and sometimes skateboarders or bicycle people will hang around the front of Target, and they'll do their little tricks and stuff until security chases them off, and it happens all the time. And that skateboarder was not wearing a mask. Other than that, every single person that I saw, every single person wearing a mask. So I know that this rainbow thing is happening in England, and it's just off the wall. It's so completely absurd. And it will make you wonder where exactly is the Patriots, right? I mean, or at least that did with me, and I'm pretty sure it would do the same in England. You wonder, where's your countrymen, right? Does anybody have a backbone? And you'd be looking at men of all different sizes, and they'll be wearing a mask. It's like, does anybody have some sort of nerve? And on top of that, what's even worse, and the worst part, which I explained, yesterday, is the worst part is that I'm walking around the whole entire time with no mask on. And I'm looking at people directly in their face as I pass by them. And sometimes I get to wondering, like, if maybe they don't even notice because we're so used to seeing people's faces that maybe it's not alarming for them to see my face. But meanwhile, it should be alarming because 100% of people around you is wearing a mask. And you see one person, there's me, I'm right there, there's my face, and I'm walking down the aisle, and you don't say anything. Do you think I'm gonna beat you up? How is it that nobody has the nerve to walk around the store without a mask, right? They don't even have that nerve. But to go even further, they don't even have the nerve to tell me anything, even though I clearly am not wearing a mask. They don't even have that nerve, and it's blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind. To me, that's very real. I mean, to me, you could have wrote a book maybe 2 or 3 years ago and called it a science fiction book and just described the exact scene that I described to you, and people would be like, "Oh my God, what world did he find himself in? A crazy, wild, wackadoodle world." Right. We're gonna have a short broadcast, so we're gonna wind it down and say like 20, 25 minutes and stuff. But I wanted to put that across, and we are gonna get a news blitz in because I want to get a wherewithal. But I want to hear from y'all out there. I mean, maybe in the recording we got Brenda right here. I don't know how much time she has, but I just wanted to put that across. There's a conundrum here. And I understand a lot of people out there saying everything's fake, everything's tomfoolery, everything's theatrics. And like I said before, if I were to, I've already contemplated that whole methodology or way of thinking. And honestly, I would lie down on the ground and literally do nothing. Or at least I think so. Maybe I could be convinced otherwise. But at the same time, I'm pretty much on the exact opposite extreme. And that, for example, everything is real. Might as well just go with everything is damn real. All right, to include, for example, the White House press briefings with the Donald Trump. I know a lot of people say, "Oh man, you can't buy into Donald Trump. Don't let him fool you and play with your strings like a puppet." People will say that, and it's like I don't even get why they're even bothering to say that because I've never done that. Right? I don't trust a person with the entirety of my livelihood because I've never been able to afford that. Right? I can really rely on myself, but at the same time, to go a little bit deeper, sometimes you can't even rely on yourself. Right? In those times, you better rely on God, or else you might fall off. And a lot of people are falling off at this particular point. Right? I have to let you know that depression and all sort of like suicidal tendencies and abuse, all these sort of things are skyrocketing in the meantime. To the point is we already have doctors coming out and saying, "Look, y'all are all pent up, and people are starting to get abused like nobody's business around here, right? It's not a good look, right? But the way I go in my mentality, and I'm open to discussion for real, and I might be swayed. Who's to say? If somebody gives me a convincing argument, but I always say that everything is damn real, and um, I point back to the whole notion is that memes run the world, for example, and that's more of like a new kind of vernacular. But for example, if memes run the world, it's all kind of symbolic. Symbolism actually is more powerful than a hurricane. It's more powerful than a tsunami. It's more powerful than if the world cracked in half and stuff. Be it a ball, be it a flat plane, it cracked in half. It would be even more. It'd be more powerful. I can't imagine anything being more powerful than symbols, or at least in my life. I have to let y'all know, the symbols have dictated uh, and totally manipulated, I guess, my every waking moment. Right? I think they've drawn me to action, and throughout my life, these various actions, I can't say that I just thought them up or I just took initiative. It's like I've been drawn to do the things that I do or to think the things that I've been absorbing like a sponge, right, from what is happening all around me, basically. Right. So to me, I take it in and I think everything is real. Man, shout out, I got 4 people up in the building. Can't even believe it. It's freaking amazing and I'm honored, right? As you might have seen in the live stream title of this, it's kind of a throwaway in a sense. Like we're not getting into, we don't have this too well planned out. But right now, we're discussing because I really want to know and get some input, perhaps even in the comments on the recorded video. I look forward to seeing people, and it's basically that. It's basically the simple differing of because once we get into wild things that we discuss on a daily around here, I think you would tend to go one of two ways. One would be that everything is fake, everything is theatrics, we're being manipulated, it's all a show, and there's clones and stuff, and it's all a big show. Or you might go to my direction, and I suppose there's in betweens, but my direction would be everything is real and it needs to be regarded as such. Very real, right? The point it will be knocking on your back door before very long. Quite real. And I mean to say, symbols or everything is very real, and it affects everything else, and nothing happens in a vacuum. And um, just to like dive a little bit further into current events, and we're gonna do a news splits here in a second. I'll say everything's real and it's worth being absorbed, and we're not all absorbing everything all at once. We're absorbing as much as we can as human beings. It's coming into us and affecting what we're doing, and it's manipulating this whole big operation. Now I can agree, and I do agree, that if this is a whole big show, the show is actually being conducted by God. And I think a lot of people would agree out there. But really dwell upon that. If this is a show, well, then who's running the show? You know, and what it's like? Why would they be running the show? My venture would be, my wager would be to reveal stuff to us, all sort of stuff that we needed to know that we needed revealed, right? And that's where symbols come into play, memes and stuff, and we see stuff, we see the truth, and we know what it is. We don't need anybody to tell us that's what it is. And meanwhile, there's various voices that run all through our heads, right? And I don't know if you know what I mean out there, but the voices running through our heads are not exactly our own voices, and we do not own thoughts. We can't like hold a thought for very long and stuff. It's like we're a vessel, or we're like a prism. It's like we're prisms, and all this stuff is shining through us this information and this symbols, and it's causing a certain energy. Now, I might have lost people as I was rambling right there. Technically, I kind of lost myself, all right? But the reason I bring it up is because it causes people to do stuff and they don't even know why they're doing it, but they're doing it for a reason. Maybe those people are fake. I tend to believe everything is real. And when I notice when I take in everything as real, it motivates me to do certain things, and I'm not really in control of it. But things wind up getting done at the end of the day. I look back and I see those things done. I'm like, that really got done. Some person might turn around and say, no, that thing that didn't even get done, that's not even real. That's fake. And it's like, well, yeah, that's a legitimate argument, but I'm looking at it and I think that it really did get done, and it's real. All right. And okay, so for some reason I'm stuck on that mindset to the point is, for example, just to bring it back to Donald Trump, like it always does come back, you know? And honestly, I'm kind of like, it always does come back to Donald Trump, and I'm a little bit annoyed by that. But at the same time, it's the most simple thing. It's like a prism of revelation is Donald Trump, right? And this whole thing, as far as the presidency, you say the whole presidency is a fake. It's like a ceremonial thing. It's there to kind of just fake us into thinking that we have some sort of power. See, that's where that kind of debate comes into play. As far as the election, oh, that's not worth anything, and what's the point, and we're wasting our time, and they're just trying to manipulate us. It's a selection, it's not an election. And mind you, that's a valid argument, I think. I think that's pretty legitimate that you would come up with that argument. At the same time, it does not appear that that is so. From what I'm seeing, it's actually very, very important. The presidency has it been ran by puppets since as long as I can remember. Yes, right. Is this particular president a puppet? I would have to say no, just because from what I've seen, and that you don't. If you, the whole purpose behind a puppet is that they don't rock the boat, or if they do rock the boat, they rock it in a particular way that you would find um, beneficial to you. All right. You know, there's a reason for having a puppet. It's because you want to kind of like manipulate things in your favor. So when you consider like a whole Illuminati, it's just basically a top tier of society, and they're using Donald Trump as a tool to get their way. They're not very good at it. It's like, dude, I could tell you how to get your way better. Put in Jeb Bush and stuff and have everybody go to sleep and go to different wars and stuff and do all what you want to do, the surveillance state, and just put Jeb Bush, dude. It's not hard to do. If this is all show and stuff, and if you're in control so much, you know, with all your predictions, that's the thing. You look back at all these people on the television and wherever else, and they said it could never happen and it won't never happen. Donald Trump could never do it. He'll never do it. I can't believe that you would even bring it up. But meanwhile, it did happen to their. I mean, to their. I forget what the word chagrin means, but they didn't like it. They didn't like it at all. What happened? And I think we can use that, and it's very powerful that they don't like it. And I'm watching these White House press briefings, and we're almost 4 years into the presidency. It kind of flew by, but I enjoyed pretty much every minute of it. And so a lot of people have to say a lot of things to do about Donald Trump and what they don't like. I have a lot of things that I could say about Donald Trump that I don't like. Meanwhile, the idea to
Low battery.
oh, geez, low battery. Turn that off. Wait. Wait. You know, I forget. Gosh, you know, I would assume that I still have audio, even without the speaker on, right? Kind of distracted me. Okay. Stupid speaker. Ran out of battery. Ah, jeez. Anyways, what I was talking about is the presidency is actually, it seems pretty dang important for the most part. But the president cannot do every last thing you would want him to do hypothetically. There's very clearly mapped out things that he can and can't do, and there's definitely there's like a formality to it, and you had to do things. I don't know. It's like, I don't know what you expect Donald Trump to do, but it seems to me like he's doing a dang good job, right? And it seems as though, in a very subtle way, um, that he's throwing a wrench in all the bad things. When you talk about all the bad things that could come about, that's being forced onto us right now, he's kind of putting a kibosh on it publicly. Like, I mean, for example, when it comes to vaccines and stuff, his rhetoric that he's been using is, he's not throwing vaccines under the bus, but he is mentioning that there's other solutions, plenty of other solutions. All right. To include some wild science, the other day it actually came up. It's like, gosh, we're veering off into all sort of different directions. But the other day it came up as far as injecting Lysol, and it was interesting. I don't want to spend too long on it, but basically Donald Trump said nothing of the sort. He was talking about some wild sciences as far as injecting disinfectants, if you will. Now, I know a lot of people, for some reason, they heard disinfectants and it just said Lysol in their head, which Lysol is a company, by the way. I mean, that's just the name of a company. And so they thought Lysol, and they thought to inject it. And I actually saw at the White House press briefing where people were like, hey, don't you feel irresponsible? They were asking Donald Trump. They're like, don't you feel irresponsible that you told people to inject Lysol and now they're doing it all across the nation? And he was like, no, I don't. And I never said that. And he did never say that. He just never said it. All right. And he was talking about shining UV lights all up inside you. And that might sound wild. A lot of people laughed at that. But I got to say, recently in my medical past, people shined all these different lasers up inside of me, and it made things happen. And so, as far as shining a light up inside you, I don't know how safe it is, but I know that they can do it. And I guess they've been doing that and stuff. And that's one of those crazy, wild things about science, right? That some people probably don't even know yet. And so they were laughing at it. Anyways, I say all that, I guess, just to say what I've said before. What I see to be apparent on his face is that Donald Trump says things that were never said before. And in fact, the powers that be, it could be no way that they're benefiting from all these things Donald Trump keeps saying. And it's on his face, reason and logic and just plain common sense what he's saying. To the point is, he sounds like he's talking to elementary school. He sounds like he's talking to children, little children, when he's talking to reporters. And I find it all kind of like just spit in the face when I hear what these reporters had to ask, and just the non sequitur questions and just this and that, and these gotcha questions. It's disgusting. But okay, you could look at that whole scenario, what you could see on the daily, and say that's theatrics, that's theater. Donald Trump's a part of this, and he's actually helping them. I still don't see how he's helping them, right? And I see what he's doing to not only be against what they would like, as far as they would like us to be begging for that vaccine already, and they would like to pump it up in us, and for very real reasons. That's what they would like to do right now. That's kind of getting foiled by the likes of Donald Trump. All right. And like I said, he just seems to be espousing stuff that I already knew, that I already know whether or not Donald Trump says it. All right. So just because he said it, those things that I know, I just can't wrap my head around those things being fake, because it's what causes me to do all the things that I do. And like, if I didn't do things, I would just lay down on the ground and quit life. And I know that seems extreme, but I imagine myself doing that. So I look at a Donald Trump, and I know that the presidency is about action in a lot of ways. You might say none of that action exists, it's all theatrics. Okay, well, hypothetically, it's about action, and then another half of it is just completely about rhetoric. And in that, you're the president, people are going to record what you say. You think back to presidents like JFK and a lot of very good speakers, like Abraham Lincoln, for example, probably, and you think Yeah, you think of their rhetoric more than anything else. Like that 4 score and 7 years ago, this and that, whatnot. You think about their rhetoric, or at least I do. All right, and to me, their rhetoric, regardless, if nothing else, if it was a show, their rhetoric is actually 100% real, and in that their rhetoric, it goes out into the airways, it hits us in the ear canal, it hits certain people in their ear hole, and then it causes all sort of energy and pandemonium to go on inside them. They feel this energy, right? For example, and it's a bad example, but you go back to Hitler and people were feeling all sort of energy. That's the power of words. That's the power of rhetoric. He was just saying things. Of course, he was raising his voice a lot of the time, but he was getting people all passionate and stuff. And that's what the thing is about public speakers in general. I'm not just talking about Hitler, but they get you all passionate. It's with the rhetoric. There's an energy to it. It pumps you up and stuff. And I can't help but feel it's like, dude, that's what a man would do if I'm not mistaken, what Donald Trump, what Donald Trump's saying is what a man would say, whether or not you agree with him or not. And he would speak from his chest and act like a damn man. And I tend to agree with most of what he's saying. And so his vibes, the energy waves, hit me, and I'm moved by that. And I'm moved, and I'm even more inspired to be wary of the Communist Party of China, by this sort of rhetoric, by this sort of macho madness, if you will. To me, it's very real because it causes a real reaction inside me. And it's hard to convince myself otherwise because I do know what's happening inside myself. And I can imagine from all the people that I've seen that they also knows what's happening inside themselves. It's the power of memes. It's the power of rhetoric. It's the power of these things that you can't touch and hold. It's not tangible, but dang it if it doesn't make the world go around, right? And so, coming from that direction, of course, there's a lot of people that like to fake stuff and have us believing in stuff that's not real. But even that faking is deadly serious and real, right? And that is my argument. And it's not to say, because I get a lot of very good intel from people who are regarding everything as a 100% hoax and faked and that nobody gets hurt. It's like, do people get hurt for real? Like, okay, for example, the world that I'm coming from, and I think you understand, or maybe I don't know where you're living at, okay? Okay, but look, let me type in San Antonio because yeah, they're gonna have COVID and stuff all up on the news feed. Okay, but there's also something else on the news feed. As we get out of here, I want to check this thing out, and then we're gonna go through a news blitz, maybe 5-10 minutes. All right. I appreciate the crap out of all y'all and stuff, man, and all y'all's intel and stuff, and you let me know in the contributions. They are priceless. Okay, so look, Texas businesses will be open on Friday. Hey, I like that. I like the sound of that. The mayor Ron Nirenberg, he hates that idea for whatever reason. We're not through with this virus. You know what I'm saying? Suffice it to say, the local politicians in here would like to strangle us to death as far as economically, to include this guy right here. But it's actually another story that I want to tell you about. Has nothing to do with the COVID, or maybe it has something to do with it. Wow, dude. This thing that I'm talking about just happened, and it was all over the headlines. Meanwhile, I just went through all these stories and they didn't even talk about it. That's crazy. Once I tell you what I'm about to tell you, it's going to be ridiculous. Look, okay, see, that's what, now it pops up. All right. The story that I seen earlier. When I say things are real, I mean really real. All right. There's consequences. So check this out. Police say woman fatally shot children ages 3 to 5. 3 and 5, her children, and it's breaking straight up. All right, you catch breaking news around here. Stuff's wild and stuff's very real. You say, oh man, there's somebody and they're faking this whole thing and they want to just do it to manipulate us through their agenda. No, I doubt it. I think it's very real. Police say that a woman fatally shot her children, ages 3 and 5, and her own mother at a San Antonio apartment. If you wanted to go to this apartment from where I'm sitting right now, and if you drove there, it might take you 15 minutes. All right, so this is just to let you know, like, it's kind of like, on my back door. Here in San Antonio, it's like I don't know where you come from and stuff, but like that's liable to happen. All right, so breaking news, and that all happened. I don't know if we're gonna read the whole article because we don't have time, but suffice it to say, you can check it out. You might have to go through all this COVID news and sift through it, but I mean, this is a breaking thing that you can find out about San Antonio. I'm just gonna keep it real brief without reading this whole article, which apparently it's not a very long article. Gosh, I just don't feel like reading it. All right, you kind of get the gist of it. I gotta explain to you that allegedly, what it seems like, this lady, she's about to lose custody of her children. I would assume to their father, and she was up in the apartment. Her good idea was to shoot her children dead, and then shoot her own mom dead, and then shoot herself dead all up in this apartment. And it's a million questions, right? I haven't investigated it too far, but I do have a lot of questions. For example, it's like nobody heard this. The father is what who came in. The father actually had to find all the dead bodies, basically. If you can imagine that nightmare. 15 minutes away from here, and he had to walk in, see all the dead bodies, which is that brings to mind the question: it's like, how come nobody heard all these gunshots and reported it? How come this guy is finding dead bodies all in the apartment? How did that even happen? But that is what happened. And so he found his dead children. You can imagine. See, the thing is about this article, what I really appreciate is that they didn't say any names. There's no point in saying any names. I mean, people might be concerned about what happened, but you shouldn't say all these people's names for their own privacy. I totally agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Meanwhile, there's certain situations in the news where you notice that they say their name and they put their face all on the thing. It's not even necessary. You're incriminating people, and that's the whole point. But when they're trying to be legitimate, they're not going to say nobody's names, which, I don't need to know their names. Okay? So she takes them upon herself to kill her children and stuff. You might say that's fake. No, that's definitely real. Not the first time I heard about that either. Real briefly, the lesson behind that, which the news will never, ever, ever cover, never, ever, is if you look at the statistics of things, when it comes to the safety of children, if you actually look at the numbers, more often than not, in like these very extreme situations, the mother will kill the children. Right? If you look at the numbers, it's not so rare as you'd like to believe. The mother will kill the children and maybe kill herself, and perhaps kill her mom and stuff, and just other people. It's not exactly rare. And then when you turn the tables around, as far as men going super violent and all sort of chaos breaking out, typically, and it's not every time, but if you look at the numbers, typically they'll kill the mother and they'll kill all sort of people around, but they'll spare the children. All right, and so take that for what you will. When you consider the safety of children, right, and the well-being of children, if you look at the numbers, I assure you that is what you're gonna find, right? And so that's why, like, I'm coming from that space where that's something that happens regularly. To me, that's very real. To me, that's consequences. To me, like, you get your life taken away by something that you can consider fake and a hoax, but when your mom shoots you dead and shoots everybody dead in the apartment, it's like not only is that real, but it's a trending pattern. That's typically and it probably has a lot to do with being all pent up and locked up in the apartment. That's all part of the lockdown. It's very deadly, all right? And they mean to kill people. That's the thing. Real briefly, we discussed a little bit of it earlier, but that's another thing. And we could get kicked off of YouTube for saying it, but they're killing people. They're going out of their way to install protocols to make sure that they get maximum death and carnage. Meanwhile, we don't look at them, or we are actually looking at them, but they want to get away with it, putting all this protocol, which is putting people's lives on the line. All right, so just to get out of here, let's have a news blitz, y'all. And I appreciate y'all out there. Texas governor will allow states stay-at-home order to end on Thursday, buddy. A lot of people say, oh, politicians, you can't trust them. They're all the same. They're all lying. It's all theatrics. And I just don't even know what to say. When it comes to Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, he ain't never done me wrong. And I don't get what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? When somebody does something good for you, do you turn around and say thank you? Or do you just say, you're a hoax, you're a hoax, you're fake. And then you take the cookie or whatever and you walk away? Is that what you do because they're fake and a hoax? No, when someone hands me a cookie, I say thank you. I appreciate it. And I remember that they gave me the cookie. Right? So, for example, Texas Governor Abbott's just never done me wrong. To turn around and call him fake and a hoax is just like, to me, disrespectful. Trapped or teasing a poppy new track. What? Causing a divisive reaction. I don't, I don't know if anybody's heard about that but me, but it's so dumb. Okay, new map shows Bexar County neighborhoods struggling with food insecurity. Food insecurity is very real. Starving to death is very real. Starving due to malnutrition, not because you don't have food, but you just don't have enough. That's very real. Maybe that's all part of the show. I'm trying to understand what is fake and what is real. Because to be honest, when people get shot to death by their mom, or when people shoot their mom dead, or when people are starving and malnourished in the community, that's very real. And they really start robbing people out of necessity. HEB's new hours start today. See, we want to get business back up. You know who's your enemy right now? It's so simple, because they don't want to get business back up. That's not to say that they don't want to be safe. Safety first is my damn motto around here. I love safety. And Donald Trump keeps saying, we love to be safe. We're going to be safe as hell. But we need to open up. We need money, because it's a real struggle. It's really real. This is not a fake hoax. People actually need to eat and pay bills. All right. And so you can know your enemy because they're talking about your safety, your security. Oh, we want you to be safe. We don't want the COVID. Well, what about my damn bills? What about everybody's bills? What about the fact people are starving to death? Are you just going to play that off all day? Mayor Ron Nirenberg? Anyways, how San Antonio's Ally Brooke is, blah, blah, blah. If you guys at home, couldn't care less. Are we going to get a second round of stimulus checks? Probably not. I don't know why you would expect them. You need to go back to work. See these lazy, dirty bums over here, and they're like, oh, we don't never want to go back to work. We want to hang out in our pajamas all day and stuff, and we want to complain about Donald Trump. It's like, dude, go your ass to work or shut the hell up and lie down and don't do anything for the rest of your life if that's indeed what you want to do. All right, but to stifle everybody else, these people are stealing all sort of diapers. All right. And hey, man, I don't know if they're selling black market diapers or if they just have a baby and they need all sort of diapers. Tapper stunned by incident and obscene Trump retweet. It's just like, dude, these people, they couldn't hate him more. It's like, you understand that the news is to incriminate people and is to demonize people. And that's what they're doing to Donald Trump, constantly talking about his tweets, right? Fort Worth area man indicted for assault dies by suicide in Tarrant County Jail. Well, that just so happens to be trending up, sir. I mean, you're on I don't know, he's a trendsetter. Anyways, Target has a warning for Amazon and the rest of retail. None of this even matters. I don't know what they're talking about. Scientists have figured out the best materials to use if you're wearing a mask at home. Oh, God. Oh, God. Ah, man. See... even the elect will fall short and stuff like that. There's only certain people who know. Let's get out of here because I ran out of time, but let's stop on this particular notion. Look at this little man right here. And that's what we're noticing. It's like, okay, you're wearing this mask. You shut the hell up. It's like, you're really scared? I mean, because we're looking at everything and we don't see everybody dropping dead over here. And you're really so scared that even in San Antonio, Texas, you're going to walk around, everybody's going to be walking around with these masks. You're going to be that scared. Or you're that scared that you're about to get hit with a $1,000 fine, which would never, ever stand up in court. You're scared of getting a piece of paper that says $1,000 on it. You're that scared that you're wearing these masks and stuff. It's like, can you imagine... hypothetically, if there was like a revolutionary battle at one point, or because people like to talk about Civil War, well, who would be the soldiers? These people in damn masks, they're scared of a piece of paper. They're scared of a disease that literally they do not see around them. Like, it's not affecting them. The lockdown's affecting them. And they're volunteering to wear these masks not only in the stores, which I can imagine you don't want to ruffle feathers, but in the parking lots. They're wearing them at home. They're driving, and I see them all over the place doing this. I'm here to tell you, it's like they might be thinking everything's a fake hoax. I don't know what they're thinking, but they're, in a sense, in a very real sense, when you consider fighting against this tyranny, those people are absolutely useless, and they're basically bystanders. God bless them. I have nothing against them, but they're what they call NPCs, and we're realizing that's like 99% of people somehow. And I don't know if they're gonna shake it off and actually wake up and see that I'm clearly not wearing a mask and nobody's even accosting me. But that's wild. That's wild stuff. Stuff is getting very real. I could I could look back at my day and say, well, maybe everybody was faking it. Maybe I went to Target and everybody put on a mask in order to make me feel some sort of way. And but to me, it's actually very real that they were manipulated so hard. And with that being said, you could see that it's all around you, and you might find it overwhelming. And we got to get up out of here. I would say just accept it. Accept that it's happening. It's going to happen for a reason. And maybe it hasn't affected you, but eventually you're going to get dragged off to jail, just like me and Brenda, right? We are going to get dragged off of jail. We're going to commit crimes, but only because being a normal, successful human being is going to be made illegal. And we're going to be dragged off to jail. And that part is going to be very real too. But I would say don't get overwhelmed by it, because there's no sense in getting anxious over something that you cannot change. We've already seen, it's been revealed to us that this is coming regardless, right? And it's time to make investments, and it's time to make moves in a very real sense, completely non-violent offensively. Never advocating for that. But it's time to do some stuff, some very real stuff. I'll holler at you a little bit later, and I appreciate y'all. It's April the 27th of 2020. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.